Hello everyone, this is the OG Gigi here, and welcome to part 2 of the alternative podcast to loneliness, overcoming expectations and social pressure. In part 1, we discussed alternatives to loneliness in general, and that we don't realize it, but loneliness is actually a choice. We can choose to feel lonely when we are by ourselves, or choose to recognize our alone time as a time of self-healing, reflection, and to re-energize ourselves, to put ourselves on the path of self-discovery. Loneliness does not have to take over your life or even happen, really. It just means that you have more freedom to truly choose how you spend your time. When you are alone, you have all the freedom in the world to make all those choices you want. Because when you are alone, there is no social pressure. There are no expectations. We don't realize it, but we choose to still burden ourselves with social expectations when we are by ourselves, even though we don't have to. A key moment for overcoming loneliness is to recognize all the expectations that are weighing us down, and whether those expectations are external, they're coming from society, our families, our jobs, or somewhere else, or internal expectations. What are the expectations that we put on ourselves that maybe are doing more harm than good? First and foremost, the alternative to loneliness is recognizing expectations. What we all need to do is really look at our lives. What is expected of us? Do we have expectations because of our sex and gender identity? Do we have expectations put upon us because of our age, our ethnicity, skin pigment, our country, our society we belong to, our job, our friends, and the expectations that we put on ourselves? Those are everything we need to consider. And the expectations themselves, whether we are deciding which ones to keep and which ones to overcome, really relate to, are those expectations beneficial to you or society as a whole? Or are these expectations put upon you to control you, to have somebody else control you, your life, your perspectives, and your everything? That's the difference. So when sorting out every single expectation placed upon you, really figure out which category they belong to. You don't have to follow other people's expectations of you. You don't have to be bound by certain expectations. And you don't have to be bound at all by any expectations when you're by yourself. To discover the difference between good expectations, or great expectations even, and bad expectations relates so much to identity. From my original podcast, The Alternative on Identity, it relates so much here because bad people want to control how you identify yourself. And they use the useless, obsolete, toxic expectations in order to do that. So you can tell exactly which expectations to just completely throw out the window because they are all identity politics expectations. So, for example, we can immediately throw out all gender expectations, all of them. There is no such thing as masculine or feminine. We are human. We're literally the same sex, regardless of what parts we have between our legs. We have more in common than differences. And the differences are so minimal that it has just becomes so sexist to even obsess over them. And just like with my alternative podcast on identity, How to Overcome Identity Politics, Part 2, check it out if you haven't listened to it already, is that they want us to divide ourselves by very minimal and insignificant identities, by our gender, by our sexual orientation, by our skin pigment, by our country of origin, by our age. But all of those things, all of those identities, they're just stereotypes, and they prevent us from discovering who we are on our deepest levels and realizing that we are all human and that those differences really are insignificant and shouldn't even be paid attention to or cared about, because we're all human in the end. And that's why all the expectations put on you to maintain those stereotypes and divisive identities are what can be thrown out. Unfortunately, when you're around people, you have to kind of pretend you are following those expectations. But the great thing about being alone and overcoming loneliness in your alone time is that is the time you can overcome all of those expectations. What do I mean? Well, for me personally, I have managed to find a way to overcome a lot of those identity politics expectations put upon me, relating to me being a woman, me being black, me being American, me being in my 30s, and a lot of other expectations that I realized were just put on me to hijack my identity and have me have less control over my own life. So what I did to overcome each and every single one of those expectations was that when I was alone, during my alone time, I said, okay, I can either feel lonely and feel bad. Oh, I have no friends. People don't like me. Will I ever get the approval of my parents? I could choose to feel lonely and feel bad about myself, or I can choose to use me being by myself as an opportunity to say, you know what? Now that I'm alone, I can actually have the freedom to discover who I am, what I like, without any social pressures or expectations whatsoever. Now is the time. So, step 1, really break down what expectations are placed upon you and why. Step 2, filing out which expectations to keep because they're actually beneficial to you, your family, community, and society, and which expectations to completely throw out because they are nothing but identity politics expectations meant to control your identity. 3, it would be nice to be able to overcome all those expectations when you're around people, but that can't happen. Not yet. So use your alone time as the opportunity to overcome all of those identity politics expectations used to control your identity. 4, get alone time. And we discussed in part 1, it might not even have opportunities to truly be alone. You live with people, you're all constantly around people at home and at work. So you need to talk to the people that you're around and say, you know what, I need just maybe an hour of me time. Don't bother me. I'm turning my phone off. I'm getting off social media. I really need me time. For an hour, for 2 hours, whatever. But you decide what you need, and you communicate those needs very clearly to the people around you if you can't get alone time. And 5, once you are actually alone, recognize this as an opportunity to truly discover who you are, to truly separate yourself from all social pressures and expectations, and to explore things that you're good at, things that you like, without it having to being a social pressure. Like, oh, what are my friends like? Oh, is this trending? Is this popular? Ooh, what clothes, what music has the most likes? Nope. Find out what you genuinely like. It may be popular, it might not be. But who cares? You're alone, you're free from all those pressures. Next is, once you have recognized your freedom during your alone time, is to use that to overcome all those expectations. So for me, just take me being a woman, for example, or black or anything. I had to create myself a mantra to really solidify that there are no social pressures or expectations placed upon me when I am by myself. I have this freedom to discover and explore and to give myself the self-care I need right now, only at this time when I'm alone. So my mantra to help me overcome all of these expectations that I have managed to do on my own is to say, I am me. That is my mantra, simply. I am me. What does that mean? I am me. I'm not a woman. I am me. I'm not a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist. I am me. I am not straight or bisexual or asexual or gay. I am me. I am not an American. I am not a young adult. I am not elderly. I am not a child. I am me. To really recognize, to set my own standard of who I am when I am by myself. And this is very important here, because that is what gives us the empowerment to overcome all of those identity politics expectations. The moment you identify as a woman, as a man, as a whatever, and give in to those identity politics expectations, it gives people power over you to control how you perceive yourself, how you think about yourself, whether you like or hate yourself, how you identify yourself. And that's not okay. by simply exclaiming, I am me, not woman, not a Christian, not a whatever. I am reclaiming my identity and thus putting myself on the very important step of overcoming those particular expectations placed upon me. So that's my mantra. You can create a mantra for yourself that's particular to you, but that's mine. So I am me. I have maybe an hour, 2 hours of alone time, and I'm going to use that to discover who exactly me is. I cannot do that even on social media. Social media in our face has every single one of the expectations. So true alone time is getting off social media too. No social media at all. Maybe listen to music. Maybe take a walk. Maybe read a book. Maybe do something that is truly your own time without any social expectations or social media whatsoever. Just me time. And then, once you have done that, then you can overcome those expectations. Now, I am me and not a woman. You want me to identify myself the way, but I'm not going to. Not while I'm alone anyway. And so what do I like? What do I actually enjoy doing? Not something that's popular or what my friends say I should do. What do I actually like? Maybe I know, maybe I don't know. But now's the time to discover. And we don't realize this, but when we do this, when we free ourselves from those expectations when we're alone, we're actually building our true identities, not the ones manufactured for us through stereotypes and identity politics, but our true identities. We realize who we are, what we're good at, what we actually like, and we empower ourselves to say, you know what? I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to empower myself. I'm going to make sure that I am my own best cheerleader, best positive influence. So with this method, you actually already have made great strides to overcoming all of those toxic expectations. You really have, whether you realize it or not. During those alone sessions where you just say, nope, I'm not a man, I am me. Let me discover what I actually like. Boom. All of those expectations of masculinity and being a man and, being the first son and all those expectations, what you need to do for your family. All of that in that moment no longer applies. You have overcome them in that moment by declaring, I am me. Same with everything else. That is how you overcome those expectations. During alone time and making your own personal mantra that empowers you to say nope to all of those identity politics expectations. Now, the expectations that might be more difficult to overcome, maybe not, but are the ones we place upon ourselves. Because you see, the society ones, they're actually, in a way, easier to overcome when you're alone. Because society isn't there. Why do you need to follow their expectations? You don't. But when you're alone, you still might have to deal with the expectations you have put on yourself. And how do you get yourself freedom from those? So, for example, some people have placed an expectation on themselves to always be helpful, always be there for somebody, always help others. And if you are not doing that, then they feel a huge sadness of being useless or a failure or not a good person because of those self expectations of always having to be useful and helpful and productive all the time. And when you are by yourself, you need to realize what expectations that you put on yourself and which ones actually may be more harmful to you and your well-being or not. So, the thing is, you don't have to be useful or productive or helpful all the time. Sometimes we make mistakes and that's okay. Sometimes we're not helpful and that's okay too. Sometimes we can just do things for fun and it isn't a waste at all. And in terms of your mental health, it is much needed to find time when you don't put those expectations on yourself and allow yourself to just be, to just chill, to just have that free time, even the free moments away from your own expectations you place upon yourself, to just be in that moment, in that mindset. No expectations to do anything for yourself or other people. Just be. And I think those are the hardest expectations to overcome. So, what do we do about that? Again, another mantra. I need to be my own best friend right now. That is my mantra, actually. What does that mean? It means I need to prioritize self-care, self-help. I need to prioritize my own mental health and well-being right now. I have been the best friend and lover and community member for everybody else. But right now, when I'm alone, I need to be my own best friend. Everything that I have done for other people, I need to do for myself right now. So, those self-expectations I might have to be perfect, to be helpful, to be the best, to be the greatest, to be popular, whatever. I need to tone that down right now. If somebody else was saying, "Oh, I need to be perfect. Oh, I'm afraid of letting you down. Oh, I'm not good enough." What would you say to them? You say, "Of course you are good enough. You are, and you are a fabulous person. Give yourself credit for what you have done and accomplished. Don't tear yourself down." You would say that to a friend, right? So why not do that for yourself? Say, "Hold up. Let me not be my own worst enemy here to tear myself down, saying, 'Oh, I'm not helpful. I'm useless. I'm not perfect. I'm not good enough.'" Nope. You are your own best friend. When you're alone, now's the time. And say, "Nope, I will not be I will not be a source of negativity. That I will not be my own source of negativity. No. I have to choose. I have to commit to being a positive resource in my own life. I have to be my own best friend." And again, that is my mantra. You can develop a different mantra just for you that really solidifies you. Maintaining your self expectations aren't important right now. Not when you're alone, at least. You can actually just not follow those either. And it's okay. Forgive yourself. You're not going to be perfect. No, but nothing is. Nothing that exists is perfect. You might not be useful. You might not be helpful at all, but that's good. You might not be productive. That's okay. Right now, when you're alone, you don't need to be that. You just need to be. Prioritize your well-being, your mental health, and make this the opportunity for self-care. And that is part 2 on the alternative to loneliness. Coming up next is part 3 of overcoming loneliness. So how do us overcoming societies and our own expectations actually influence and impact our life, our identity, and our own inner strength, and how we can really create 2 selves? That is what we have to do, and there's a great alternative to making sure we do just that and maintain our well-being and our communities at the same time. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time. And all of this is so important for since we are in the holiday season. Those expectations are going to be thrown right in our faces. So give yourself many alone sessions to overcome them and improve your inner strength by doing so. Take care and happy holidays.